What's up, guys? Ben here, bringing you another video today. It's Tuesday morning. I'm a little tired still from Major 3 event, which was a great time. Talk a little bit about it more on the Scrap Time podcast later today, and also probably my stream. But we had a great time. Shout out to everybody that helped us organize and get that going. But as always, the event is over. Let's dive in on the tier list and see where everybody ranks after Toronto Ultra took the crown this weekend. Let's dive in. All right, so this is the tier list we had from our last video, and I can already tell you there's going to be a couple of changes to this one. If you are new here, we don't do the letter grade system. I think it's kind of whack. And honestly, I'll say this about where CDL's at right now. We've had now, I think, like half the league make a grand final recently. We've had a lot of different winners over the last year or so. I don't really think at the moment there's an S tier team. So I think even if I did that, it would be kind of whack. So here's how we kind of rank teams just so you guys understand. Sunday regulars are your top 3, top 4 teams. It really depends on form, but hence the name. These are people that are going to make it to the event finals on Sunday. We have potential contenders, and this is usually going to round out the rest of the top 7, top 8 teams. Work to do are teams that I think pretty much have like 1, maybe 2 major flaws. They're kind of preventing them from either qualifying for champs or, you know, really being in the next tier of teams. Again, depends on form. And then missing pieces are teams that I think are probably a roster change away from being a real contender. So we're going to make a couple of obvious tweaks here. Let's start with the Minnesota Rocker, and I'm going to slide them all the way down to missing pieces. And the reason for that is I think they're going to go ahead and make a roster change after this event. They got 0 points. They didn't look competitive at all. At any point throughout this entire cycle, they're lost. And I think they got a lot of work to do to get to where they want to get to. They probably will have a slightly different roster going to the next major. So for now, we're going to leave them at the rock bottom. I think the next move we're going to do is move Toronto Ultra into this spot right here. They are your defending champions. They did a great job this weekend. By far the most dominant control team in the game right now. All the other game modes look good. It's safe to say this change with Hixie has done wonders for the squad. It's brought out the best in Scrappy. It's brought out the best in Kleenex. I kind of roasted Scrappy. Okay, so Scrap came on the flank set on like Friday and chirped me, and then I chirped him and said, like, you know, if you're gonna say I'm like bad at COD, like do better on a weekend. And he turned up. So right to him. They're now the #1 team and everybody's target to beat. And I think Toronto should be good for most of the season. A couple more obvious moves we can make is I'm going to move Seattle down. I'm going to move New York down to here. And I think this is for different reasons. New York got dead last at this event. And I don't really still kind of understand how that happened. It's a very perplexing New York team. I feel like they're super day-to-day. We've seen them beat a lot of good teams. We've seen them lose to a lot of good teams, but they also lost to Florida at this event to get dead last. So I don't really know what to make of this. New York needs to find some form because right now they are not consistent, and they had a very poor Thursday and Friday and saw themselves out of the tournament by Friday afternoon. And for Seattle, you know, this is a team that I was picking to go ahead and make it the grand finals and win this event. And I think that, you know, maybe that game 5 round 11 loss to FaZe, where Simp somehow got like the craziest hipfire kill I've ever seen in my life, might have broke this team because they pulled up against Optic Texas and did not look competitive. I don't think top 6 is all too bad of a placing for them, but they were looking like the most informed team, or one of the most informed teams going this event. And for them to get 6 is probably a disappointment. But there's a lot to like about Seattle. They've improved their search. They're still a good respawn team. If they can get some more consistency, I think they're going to keep fluctuating, I think, between tiers here. We're going to make another move here as well. I'm going to move Thieves down right there. Again, they're another team that had a weird event this week. They got completely Kentucky Fried by Atlanta FaZe. Like, wasn't even close to series. Then they took care of business against Rocker. But they came up against Vegas and lost, and I really don't know what to think about that. Maybe just a tough weekend. I just think top 8 was a bit of a funky result for them. So looking to see a little bit more from them in the next cycle. They're good on a champs qualification spot, but I want to see them kind of make it a little bit deeper in these tournaments. I know they were just coming off a finals appearance in Major 2, but we got 2 more majors coming up. I expect this team to round into form here shortly. So I'm going to move Vegas in front of LAG here. I could move Vegas higher. I know they got top 6 of this event, which is extremely tippable. They beat LAG, they beat LA Thieves, and then they got 3-0 by Boston. So I really don't know, though, with Vegas, like, can they consistently beat all of the 7 teams above them? I'm a little iffy on all that. I mean, we got to tip the Thieves win, but I don't think if you run that series, 9 times out of 10 how many Vegas is going to win. I don't think it's even a majority. So for now, I'm going to leave them in this work to do tier unless they show us more the first week of the qualifiers, and then I'll believe into the Vegas hype. But they're well in the mix now for a champ spot. Probably getting that last 8 spot considering Rocker have now slipped. So they're really in the mix there. I think the biggest thing for Vegas that is preventing me from moving it up is they went 1-7 and controlled the split. Like, if you're consistently losing that swing game mode, I just can't trust you right now to be in the top 6 or 7 teams. LAG's a weird one. I almost kind of want to move them down a tier. They got dead last of this tournament, but I guess Alec had some hand issues, and they really lost a tough game 5 to Seattle, and they grind out that series. So I'm going to leave them there for now because I think they would probably beat Rocker in a match. Florida might give them some trouble. I think that's sort of where I feel like they're going to place. And then the same thing for Florida. Like, I really like this Florida team, and they got a top 8 placing. I just don't know on paper if that team is good enough for me to move them up a tier. I feel like talent-wise, there's still a gap for them to go ahead and qualify for champs. But they get back in a couple of these like top 8, top 6 placings. That's how it goes in the CDL. And I think for London, I am going to, well, I mean, if we're just going to do kind of rankings, we'll just probably do this right now. I think London was very competitive most of the split. London just needs to find a way to win series because they keep grinding these long series against good teams and then just losing. If they can do that, I think they can make a decent run to next major, but it might be too late champ points wise because they're sitting at the bottom. But I think the big thing for London, at least from my perspective, is probably getting a sub player for Paul. I think that will just make their team better. So I think a roster changes in the cards there. And I think the rest of this ranking looks good. I mean, we'll put Optic in front of FaZe, you know, based on placings right now. And also Optic has FaZe's number at the moment. Optic obviously went on I think a 9 hardpoint run at this event. Extremely tippable. I think they were really feeding off the energy of the crowd and playing this sort of exciting brand of COD. And I think really when you watch their team play, I mean, it's clear the X factor right now are the subs. I think Ant was fairly consistent this event, but the series where they really struggle with the series where Kyler, aka Hook, was really struggling. So trying to get more consistency would be really key. They're heading into a major 4 cycle where there's not going to be an event in front of a crowd. So they've got to figure out how to kind of motivate themselves. I know at past the way they did that was via comms, and then it got kind of hectic, and it seemed like at this event they tried to calm that. So excited to see this Optic team can kind of continue this top 2, top 3 form. I expect them to be good. I'm just not sure yet if they can keep being a top 2 team. I think for FaZe, obviously a lot to like with the search and destroy. They really dropped only one S&D the whole weekend. The streak came to an end, I think, at like 15. So typical there, the respawn's a huge problem. They need to really rethink both control and hardpoint. They just don't seem to be ahead of other teams in that game mode. This team is really good, and the minute that they figure out respawn, I think they're going to win another event. But right now, that's what's really limiting their ceiling on Sundays because they're getting there. They've gotten there at Major 1. They've gotten there at Major 3. And then on both days, they just played better respawn teams that just took them out. They need to improve at both hardpoint and control if they want to win events, basically. Boston good in this 4th spot. I really want to move Boston up a tier, but that week Sunday is kind of preventing me from doing it. But Boston's obviously in the mix. I think the rest of this feels good to me, just kind of on glance. I think, again, we've got like 7 teams who I expect to make champs, and the 8 spots a little bit open between a couple of these squads down here. And Rocker obviously putting them last seems a little bit harsh, but again, they played really poor this split, and based on form, they're probably the worst team right now. Although I expect with the roster change, they're going to shoot back up here pretty quickly. I think they're going to use this time in between majors to get things going. So yeah, I feel good about these rankings. Obviously, we'll see how things shuffle out going into the Major 4 qualifiers, which will kick off in a few weeks. As always, let me know what you think of the video, what you think of the tier list. I think it's a pretty good set. We might do a couple of more player tier lists this week, and things are going to get a little bit slower the next couple of weeks. So I need to figure out content-wise what to do. If you guys have some ideas, leave them in the comments. I'd love to make some videos on different topics. Obviously, I expect some roster mania to happen. Again, you know, I think when we look at sort of the bottom 5 teams, I could definitely see Minnesota making a roster change, although they really should. London, I'm not so sure if they're going to, but a roster change would be very helpful. LAG, let's see, depending on how bad Alex's hand injury is and whether he can really continue to play at the moment. And I think everybody else in the top 7 is probably not making a change right now. I don't see Vegas making a change. So it might be sort of a slower roster mania. Well, things might kick up after Major 4 as teams going to need to make final changes for the last event of the season if they're still trying to qualify for champs, get formed for playoffs, /champs, etc., etc. As always, guys, like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe for more, and we'll see you on the next one.